There comes a moment in every life when the illusion finally breaks. The illusion that someone will rescue you, guide you perfectly, motivate you endlessly, or arrive at just the right time to fix what feels broken. That moment is uncomfortable, sometimes painful, but it is also the most liberating realization you will ever have. Nobody is coming to save you. And the moment you accept that truth, you reclaim your power. From an early age, many of us are conditioned to wait. We wait for permission, for opportunity, for validation, for the right circumstances. We wait for motivation to strike before we act. We wait for confidence before we try. But life does not reward waiting. Life responds to movement, to consistency, to discipline. Growth begins not when conditions improve, but when commitment deepens. Discipline is not glamorous. It does not announce itself loudly. It works quietly, daily, often without applause. Discipline is choosing to show up when you don't feel inspired. It is keeping promises to yourself when no one else is watching. It is doing what needs to be done long after the excitement fades. And that is why discipline is the only way, because motivation is temporary, but discipline is dependable. When you stop expecting rescue, you stop giving your power away. You realize that your habits are shaping your future more than your hopes ever will. You understand that success is built in small, consistent choices, not dramatic breakthroughs. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. Without it, dreams remain wishes. With it, goals turn into reality. Life will not slow down for you. Challenges will come whether you feel ready or not. Responsibility will not disappear because you are tired. Waiting for perfect timing only delays progress. Discipline teaches you how to move forward despite fear, despite doubt, despite discomfort. It trains your mind to act based on commitment rather than emotion. And that is where true strength is born. Discipline is also an act of self-respect. Every time you honor your word to yourself, you build trust. Every time you follow through, you reinforce confidence. Over time, this self-trust becomes unshakable. You no longer rely on external encouragement because you have become your own source of stability. You stop needing someone to save you because you have learned how to lead yourself. This truth is not meant to be harsh. It is meant to be freeing. You are not abandoned. You are empowered. The responsibility is yours, but so is the control. You don't need someone else's permission to begin. You don't need perfect conditions to improve. You only need the willingness to commit to discipline, one day at a time. Nobody is coming to save you, and that is exactly why your future is in your hands. Discipline is the path. Discipline is the protector of your goals. Discipline is the quiet force that transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary outcomes. When you stop waiting and start committing, you don't just change your circumstances, you change your life. Waiting feels safe, but it is one of the most dangerous habits a person can develop. It disguises itself as patience, hope, or preparation, while quietly stealing your momentum. Many people spend years waiting for the right time, the right support, the right motivation, or the right opportunity, believing that progress will come once everything aligns. But life does not move according to perfect timing, and neither does growth. The longer you wait, the more powerless you become. Waiting shifts responsibility away from you. When you believe that someone or something else must arrive before you can move forward, you give up control over your own life. You begin to live in reaction instead of intention. You tell yourself that circumstances are the problem, that others are ahead because they had help, that your moment simply hasn't come yet. But this mindset keeps you stuck because it delays the one thing that creates change action. Responsibility is not a burden, it is a doorway. The moment you accept that no one is coming to save you, you step into ownership. Ownership over your habits, your choices, your reactions, and your future. This realization can feel uncomfortable because it removes excuses, but it also restores power. When responsibility becomes yours, so does the ability to change. You no longer wait to be chosen, you choose yourself. Waiting also weakens confidence. Each day spent delaying action reinforces the belief that you are not ready or capable. Over time, hesitation becomes identity. But confidence is not built by thinking, planning, or hoping. Confidence is built by doing. Even imperfect action creates evidence that you can move forward despite fear. When you stop waiting and start acting, your brain begins to trust you, and self-trust becomes the foundation of growth. Most people wait for motivation before they act, not realizing that motivation is a result of movement, not the cause. Action creates momentum, and momentum fuels motivation. Discipline replaces waiting with consistency. It teaches you to act regardless of how you feel, to commit even when conditions are not ideal. This shift alone separates those who grow from those who remain stuck. In taking responsibility also changes how you face difficulty. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to ask, "Well, what can I do about this?" This mindset builds resilience. Challenges no longer feel like personal attacks. They become problems to solve. Waiting avoids discomfort, but responsibility embraces it as part of growth. This is how strength is developed, not through comfort, but through conscious effort. There is freedom in this truth. You do not need permission to begin. You do not need perfect clarity. Take the first step. You do not need someone else's approval to improve your life. The moment you stop waiting, you reclaim your time, your energy, and your power. Discipline replaces delay. Action replaces excuses. Ownership replaces helplessness. Remember this: waiting keeps you passive, responsibility makes you powerful. Nobody is coming to save you, and that is not a sentence of abandonment. It is an invitation to lead yourself. When you stop waiting and start taking responsibility, you don't just move forward, you begin to build a life directed by intention, discipline, and self-respect. And that is where true freedom begins. Motivation is a powerful feeling, but it is an unreliable leader. It arrives unexpectedly, leaves without warning, and rarely stays long enough to carry you through meaningful change. Many people build their goals on motivation alone, believing that as long as they feel inspired, progress will continue. But feelings fluctuate, energy fades, excitement wears off. And when motivation disappears, so does momentum, unless discipline is already in place. Discipline is different. Discipline does not depend on emotion, mood, or circumstance. It is the quiet decision to act regardless of how you feel. It is the commitment to show up even when you are tired, uncertain, or uninspired. Discipline is reliable because it is rooted in choice, not feeling. When motivation fails, discipline continues. And that is why discipline is the only way forward when no one is coming to save you. Relying on motivation keeps you reactive. You act when you feel good and stop when you don't. This creates inconsistency, and inconsistency erodes trust in yourself. Discipline creates stability. It trains your mind on commitment rather than impulse. Over time, this stability builds self-respect. You begin to trust yourself because your actions are no longer dependent on emotional highs. You become someone who follows through. Discipline also simplifies decision-making. When you rely on feelings, it has becomes a negotiation. Should I do this now or later? Am I in the mood? Do I feel ready? Discipline removes the debate. The decision has already been made. You act because it aligns with your values and your future, not because it feels comfortable in the moment. This clarity saves energy and builds focus. Consistency is where discipline proves its power. Small actions repeated daily outperform intense effort applied occasionally. You don't need to be perfect, you need to be consistent. Discipline teaches you that progress is not dramatic, it is gradual. It is built through routine, patience, and persistence. Over time, these small, disciplined actions compound into significant change. Discipline also protects you during difficult seasons. When life becomes overwhelming, motivation is often the first thing to disappear. Discipline becomes the anchor that keeps you moving forward. It holds your structure when emotions are unstable. It allows progress even in uncertainty. This resilience is what separates those who endure from those who collapse under pressure. Choosing discipline is an act of maturity. It means understanding that feelings are informative but not authoritative. You acknowledge how you feel, but you do not allow it to control your actions. You lead yourself with intention, not impulse, and in doing so, you reclaim power over your time, your energy, and your future. Remember, this motivation may start the journey, but discipline finishes it. Nobody is coming to save you from inconsistency, from distraction, or from procrastination. Discipline is the system you build to carry yourself forward when inspiration fades. When you commit to consistency, you no longer need to rely on how you feel. You rely on who you have decided to become. Growth does not come from dramatic bursts of effort. It does not come from rare moments of inspiration, sudden luck, or waiting for the perfect circumstances. Growth comes from small, consistent choices made daily, even when no one is watching, even when it feels insignificant, and even when progress seems invisible. These choices shape your identity, influence your mindset, and ultimately determine the trajectory of your life. Habits are not small, they are the architecture of your future. Most people underestimate the power of daily action. They think that success is earned in massive, extraordinary gestures or life-changing events. But the truth is that those events rarely occur without a foundation of consistent effort. Every day you act with discipline, even in small ways, you are training your brain to expect effort, resilience, and commitment. These repeated choices accumulate over time, transforming who you are and what you are capable of achieving. Consistency teaches your brain that you can be relied upon. Every time you follow through on a promise to yourself, you reinforce self-trust. This trust becomes internal strength, a confidence that does not depend on others or on circumstances. When your habits are consistent, your identity shifts. You begin to see yourself as someone who shows up, someone who perseveres, someone who is committed to long-term growth. Identity, after all, is shaped more by repeated action than by intention alone. Small, consistent actions also compound. Just as a river carves a canyon over years through persistent flow, your daily choices shape your life through accumulation. Waking up early, exercising, studying, focusing, or completing tasks when you don't feel like it may seem minor in the moment. But over weeks, months, and years, these actions create exponential results. Progress is not always visible at first, but it is unstoppable when sustained. This is the quiet power of discipline in action. Consistency also builds resilience. Life will inevitably throw obstacles in your path, moments of doubt, fatigue, and discomfort. When you have practiced consistent action, you are prepared to endure these challenges. Your brain has been trained to continue even when conditions are not ideal, to act despite fear or resistance, and to see discomfort as an opportunity rather than a threat. Each consistent choice strengthens your mental and emotional capacity for greater challenges ahead. Another benefit of small, consistent choices is that they reduce overwhelm. When you focus on tiny, deliberate actions instead of waiting for perfection, progress becomes manageable. The mind is trained to think in terms of achievable steps, and momentum grows naturally. The more consistent your actions, the easier it becomes to maintain focus and overcome resistance. Discipline becomes automatic because repetition rewires the brain to prioritize growth over comfort. Remember, nobody is coming to save you from inconsistency, from missed opportunities, or from the consequences of inaction. The only way to build the life you want is through daily, intentional, consistent effort. Each choice you make, no matter how small, shapes your future self. Over time, these choices compound into results, and the person you become is the direct reflection of the habits you cultivate today. The truth is simple: small, consistent choices are more powerful than occasional bursts of effort, motivation, or inspiration. They create identity, build trust in yourself, strengthen resilience, and accumulate into remarkable results. When you commit to these choices, you no longer wait for someone to save you. You become the architect of your own life. Discipline is more than doing what is hard. It is the act of honoring yourself through your actions. Every promise you make to yourself, no matter how small, no matter how inconvenient, is a test of your integrity, and every time you follow through, you strengthen your self-trust. This trust becomes the foundation of unshakable confidence because it is not based on luck, praise, or external validation. It is earned, proven, and reinforced every single day through action. Many people misunderstand confidence. They think confidence comes from praise, talent, or approval from others. But external sources are unreliable. They rise and fall, they fade, and they can be withdrawn at any moment. Self-trust, on the other hand, is permanent. When you keep your commitments to yourself consistently, you prove that you are capable of following through, even when it is difficult. This is the kind of confidence that cannot be shaken by failure, rejection, or circumstance. Discipline and self-trust are deeply connected. Each time you choose to act despite fear, fatigue, or doubt, you are sending a signal to your brain: I can handle what is uncomfortable. I am reliable. I can depend on myself. over time, these signals accumulate, rewiring your mind to expect competence and accountability from yourself. You no longer question your ability to endure or persevere. You become the person who takes action even when others hesitate. Self-trust built through discipline also reduces hesitation and indecision. Life is full of moments where choices are difficult, uncertain, or inconvenient. A disciplined mind does not wait for perfect conditions. It acts. It moves forward with intention. This clarity, grounded in trust and repeated action, eliminates self-doubt and fear of failure. You make decisions confidently because your brain has experienced consistent follow-through, and you know that you can handle the outcomes, whatever they may be. Discipline strengthens confidence by creating evidence. Confidence is not a feeling. It is a pattern of proven behavior. Each task you complete when it feels hard, each boundary you uphold when it will be easier to compromise, each moment you persist despite resistance becomes a brick in the foundation of your belief in yourself. The accumulation of these small victories builds a resilient identity, someone who does what needs to be done, regardless of emotion, circumstance, or support. Another powerful effect of self-trust is independence. When you rely on your own discipline to navigate challenges, you no longer feel the need for rescue. You no longer wait for someone to motivate you, guide you, or save you. You are capable of taking control of your life because your brain has learned that you can be counted on even in adversity. This independence is liberating. It frees you from reliance on others and places your future firmly in your own hands. Remember, discipline is not punishment, nor is it restriction. It is a demonstration of respect for your own potential, a commitment to your goals, and a method for building unshakable confidence. Each act of discipline, each moment of follow-through, reinforces your self-trust, reshapes your identity, and empowers you to lead your life with clarity, resilience, and determination. In the end, confidence that lasts comes from action, not hope. And self-trust is forged through discipline, not wishful thinking. The person who keeps their promises to themselves becomes unstoppable because they no longer wait for permission, motivation, or rescue. They have learned to rely on the power of their own consistency and inner strength. The most liberating realization you can have is that your life will only change when you lead yourself. Nobody is coming to rescue you, nobody will solve all your problems, and nobody will force you to act toward your goals. Waiting for someone else to intervene is a surrender of your power. Self-leadership begins when you accept responsibility for your thoughts, your choices, and your actions. It is the ultimate expression of freedom because it places control firmly in your hands. Self-leadership is not about perfection or always knowing the right answer. It is about making conscious choices despite fear, uncertainty, or resistance. Every time you choose to act when you feel unmotivated, every time you push past doubt, and every time you commit to discipline over comfort, you strengthen your ability to direct your own life. Leadership begins within, and the more consistently you practice it, the more confident, capable, and autonomous you become. Discipline is the engine of self-leadership. Motivation comes and goes, circumstances fluctuate, and external support can be unreliable. But discipline does not waver. When you rely on discipline to guide your actions, you are no longer at the mercy of your emotions or the approval of others. You build a consistent framework for action that allows you to make progress regardless of external conditions. This is freedom in its purest form, the ability to move forward because you have committed to your own standards. Self-leadership also strengthens decision-making. Life constantly presents choices, challenges, and opportunities, many of which are uncomfortable or intimidating. A person who has cultivated discipline does not freeze in uncertainty. They act with intention. They follow a plan grounded in values and goals. Each disciplined choice becomes a reinforcement of self-trust, a reminder that you are capable of handling the consequences, and a proof that you can rely on yourself when it matters most. Another critical aspect of self-leadership is resilience. Life is unpredictable, full of setbacks, obstacles, and moments that test your resolve. When you have trained yourself to act consistently through discipline, these challenges become manageable. Your mind has learned that discomfort does not equal failure, that difficulty is temporary, and that persistence produces results. You develop a mindset that views challenges as opportunities to strengthen your character rather than reasons to retreat. Ultimately, self-leadership creates independence. You stop waiting for validation, motivation, or rescue because you have learned to rely on your own abilities. You no longer blame circumstances, other people, or luck for delays or failures. Instead, you focus on what you can control: your habits, your actions, and your mindset. Freedom is not the absence of responsibility. It is the ability to navigate responsibility intentionally and confidently. Remember, nobody is coming to save you. Waiting for someone else to direct your life is a trap that keeps you powerless. Discipline is the path to self-leadership. Through consistent action, small choices, and unwavering commitment, you learn to guide your own life, trust your own judgment, and rely on your own strength. Self-leadership is the ultimate freedom because it ensures that your destiny is determined not by chance, luck, or others, but by the deliberate, disciplined actions of your own mind. When you embrace this truth, you step into a life of autonomy, confidence, and power. You stop waiting, you stop hoping, and you start leading yourself. And when you do, you unlock the extraordinary potential that has always been within you. Because the greatest power you will ever have is the ability to direct your own life through discipline, commitment, and unwavering self-leadership. As we come to the close of this message, remember this: nobody's coming to save you, and that is the greatest gift you can receive. Waiting for rescue, motivation, or the perfect circumstances keeps you powerless. But the moment you take responsibility for your actions, your thoughts, and your choices, you reclaim your power. Growth begins not in hope, but in discipline. We have learned that waiting keeps you powerless. Motivation is temporary, while discipline is reliable. Small, consistent choices shape your future. Self-trust and confidence are built through disciplined follow-through, and self-leadership is the ultimate freedom. These truths are not abstract. They are actionable. They are the tools that allow you to take control of your life, even when the path is hard, uncertain, or uncomfortable. Discipline is your rescue. It is not punishment, nor is it restriction. It is the method by which you protect your goals, honor your promises to yourself, and train your mind to act regardless of circumstance. Every act of commitment strengthens self-trust, reinforces identity, and builds resilience. The life you desire is not waiting for you. It is waiting for the choices you are willing to make today. When you stop waiting and start acting, you discover something extraordinary. You are capable of more than you imagine. You do not need permission, approval, or validation from anyone else. You do not need perfect conditions or endless motivation. You only need the courage to commit, the consistency to follow through, and the discipline to lead yourself. The road of discipline is not easy, but it is liberating. It frees you from dependence, from doubt, and from the illusion that anyone else can create your success. By leading yourself, keeping promises to yourself, and acting consistently, you take ownership of your future. You step into freedom, confidence, and unstoppable momentum. Remember this: your rescue is in your own hands, and your discipline is the key. The moment you embrace self-leadership, honor your commitments, and act consistently, you stop waiting for life to happen to you. You begin making life happen through intentional action. Every challenge becomes a test of your strength. Every discomfort becomes an opportunity, and every day becomes a chance to prove to yourself that you are capable of extraordinary things. Step forward, take responsibility, commit to discipline, lead yourself, your life, your future, and your success are waiting, but only for the actions you take today. Nobody is coming to save you, and that is exactly why you are powerful enough to save yourself.